and welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. Today, we are speaking with two wonderful volunteers here in Ashland. They are Rajashree Ghosh. Rajashree, welcome back to Around the Clock.
Thank you.
And Stacy Grant Lewis. Stacy, welcome to your first time on Around the Clock.
Thank you for having me.
So we are here, and we have brought you to Around the Clock because you are currently the co-chairs for the Comprehensive Plan Committee. Mm-hmm. But before we get into those details, let's find out a little bit about both of you. Stacy, I'm going to start with you because you're brand new to Around the Clock. How long have you been living in Ashland?
It's been 6 years, so I'm probably the newest person on our committee to have moved here. Yes.
And what brought you to Ashland?
Marriage and children. We were living in Framingham and we needed a space that was close to our kids' school. Mm-hmm. We share them with their mom and they go to school in Holliston. So Ashland was the next opportunity.
Nice. Good. And Rajashree, how long have you been in Ashland?
I think we've been here since 2006.
Okay. Yeah. And what brought you to Ashland?
I think it's because we lived in Natick and this was the next town over that we liked and could afford. Mm-hmm. And also we found the greenery really appealing. So we would drive around and found the place really something so cohesive. Mm-hmm. And it attracted us to settle down here.
Nice. Now, as I said at the beginning, you are the current co-chairs of the Comprehensive Plan Committee.
That's right.
But you came to be those co-chairs in a slightly different way. Rajashree, how did you get on the Comprehensive Plan?
So I've worked with the community in Ashland for a little bit. I was on the Ashland Cultural Council. I served 2 terms. And it gave me a way to engage with the community. I think it was a very good way to understand how the town administration works, how funds are dispersed, how do you recognize talent. And so from there, I started working with different organizations in town, such as Arts Ashland. Then I joined Friends of the Upper Charles Trails Committee. But wonderful work was being done by volunteers in town. And then right during the pandemic is when I joined Ashland is United, and that kind of changed my whole perspective about inclusivity and creativity and building bridges, really. And that is core to my own ethos, and it kind of gelled well with me. So with Ashland is United, I did a lot of work in the community, introducing Juneteenth, Meaningful Meal, and all those events. And the George Floyd murder had happened around that time, and so we worked a lot in the community at that time. So when the talent bank form was available regarding the comprehensive plan, I thought of applying, and I thought that this is an opportunity to serve, and what an honor it is to work with the team as well as the community to build a vision of what Ashland is going to be in the next so many years.
And you are one of our precinct representatives.
For Precinct 5.
Precinct
yes.
5, right. And there are 6 precinct representatives.
Correct.
And Stacy, how did you get to be on the Comprehensive Plan Committee?
Well, I think 2020 was pivotal for a lot of us for the same reasons, George Floyd. And I started my own organization called Culturex Community. And my particular neighborhood is so welcoming and friendly and encouraged me to get involved. And so I joined the Cultural Council that you left. Okay. I'm on my 2nd term there, and I became the chair last year. I was elected the chair last year. So I was asked to be on the comprehensive plan. And of course, I jumped at it because one of the things I really enjoy or admire about Ashland is the approachability of local government. Mm-hmm. There are not a lot of layers that you have to wade through, and it's very responsive. And so I thought, how can I really contribute more to my local community? I really wanted to act instead of just talking and thinking about things. So here I am.
Great.
And I second that because I find the town administration being like activists, and they're on the ground, and you want to walk with them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in the 12th year of as a select board member, and I had spent 5 years on school committee before that. And I would say our town has certainly evolved and changed in regards to town management and staff and faculty and this faculty at our schools. And it's become much more of a group project rather than an us versus them. And that has been very nice to see. And certainly as our community has changed in regards to our demographics, it is important that we keep including and making the representation in all these conversations much broader. So that brings us to the comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan, for those who are watching, if you're not sure, is a plan that basically determines how we're going to do things or what we're going to focus on as a community within the next 10 to 20 years. So for the both of you, what do you see as the most important thing that you've heard so far that people want as part of the comprehensive plan?
Would you like to go first?
Okay. So there are several things because the comprehensive plan deals with so many aspects of this town. So when you talk to a group which is more oriented towards cultural activities, they're talking about indoor spaces of gathering where they can showcase their art. We have very limited resources in that sense. So they're talking about places which could be rented out. You know, they talk about what's going to happen with the Valentine's property. Do you think we're going to perform there? I don't know.
Right.
But, you know, their input is important so that their voices are counted and it goes into the plan, at least the thinking of the plan.
Right.
There are kids who just talked about the DQ that's on 135, that property. And they said, as older kids, we have no place to hang out. It's in walking distance from the school. Maybe there can be an arcade-style shopping place where we could gather indoors during the cold months. There's dulce de leche, but they prefer something closer.
Right.
And more accessible. So there are these kinds of suggestions that we are finding, but there are others. Like today, I talked to representatives from the Connect Church, and one of the women, she has a child who has special needs, and she's looking for resources of all kinds, and she wants information about what can be found in town and outside. So there are some people who are giving us very specific inputs, and others are much more broad-ranging.
Stacey, what are you hearing?
I think, first of all, it's really heartening that people are so opinionated about what is important to them in town. And those opinions are able to then be surfaced and up-leveled into this comprehensive plan. I think I'm hearing a lot about open space and preserving that, which is one of the reasons we moved here as well, the availability of that. I'm hearing a lot about recreation. Where do I spend my time? And also sustainability. How do I preserve some of that open space so it can just be natural land, right? So there's that tension there. But ultimately, I'm also hearing a lot about worthiness. People want to be recognized. We have some residents who have been here for their entire lifetimes, and they want to be recognized as being integral to the part of Ashland, the history of Ashland. And then the newer people who are coming in also want to be recognized for contributing. So there's that tension there. But underlying it all is that everybody really wants Ashland to work. I have not heard anyone say, well, this town is just horrible, I'm just going to move. I came from New York. You hear that a lot. But I just hear that people just want to make this a place where everybody can coexist. So that's really what's exciting. That's what I'm hearing.
You're both talking about conversations that you've had. So if there are people who have not had those conversations yet, how can they get involved in the process? What are ways that the residents who haven't done it yet can get their voices and their input into the plan?
Well, one of the things I really encourage you to know, audience, is that you're welcome to contribute. There are a number of ways. We have these focus groups that we've been hosting individually with our networks and larger at the town level. There's a survey that's available via QR code that you can do at your own leisure. We are having more town halls about this. We're having this conversation about it. But the barrier is maybe perception that, your voice won't be heard. And I'd like everyone to know that that's not true. You're welcome and encouraged to participate.
We also have our monthly meetings.
Right.
That happen mostly on the third Thursday of the month. Currently at the library. We might have to move it next month. We're not sure. But it's also available via Zoom. They can come and listen as well.
You can get the Zoom link online at the town website.
Yep.
And I think that our web presence is available anybody can access the town website, which has a banner right up top on the comprehensive plan. It's like blaring blue. And you can also visit the comprehensive site that has been developed particularly by the consultants. And there are various ways that they can engage with. They can submit photographs. They can engage with any of us. All our names appear on the website. They can reach any of the members. All the 29 members are there representing the community. So we're very accessible, and we can help you through the process if that's necessary, or you can take it up yourself.
Right. We also have the ability, if someone attends what we call these focus groups, they could then go further and do a focus group
on your own
their network.
Exactly.
As well, which we haven't heard too much about yet, but I think we certainly want to encourage people. Our current public engagement process is open until April 26th.
Correct.
Now, we have a goal of the number of touch points that we want to meet. Where are we at, and what are we reaching for?
Well, we're about 40% of goal as of yesterday.
Okay.
The entire goal is about 2,700. We call them participation points. And right now we're about 1,600.
Okay.
So the next 4 weeks are critical. They're crucial to us to participate. So really engaging with those surveys at your own leisure.
There's the surveys, and then there's the crowd mapping.
Crowd mapping.
Talk a little bit about that, because I've seen some comments about that. What exactly, if someone goes to that crowd mapping, what can they do with that?
It's very self-explanatory. Once you go up on the website, you can use the key. The legend is available. It's very user-friendly. They should absolutely try it.
Okay, and it's a way for people to
pin locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for example, you want to see a sidewalk somewhere. You go onto the crowd map, you take the pin and you put it on
Drop
that
it there.
location and say, I'd like to see a sidewalk there.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
You want something removed, you can do that too.
Well, they can do that. Whether it will happen,
That's a different story.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have this public engagement time going on until April 26th.
Correct.
What's going to happen with all this information? So because that's one of the things you hear from people, right? Well, I'm not going to bother putting my thoughts or comments in because it's not going to be used. So how can people feel confident that if they give their input, they'll be heard?
Well, I think it's important to note that this is the gathering data portion of the process, right? So raw data is being gathered, and then the consultant will synthesize a plan. They'll present it to the boards and the councils, and there'll be meetings where the public can come and witness all of that. You should know we're not going to be able to accomplish everything in the plan. There are going to be priorities, and I don't want anyone to feel thwarted that their idea didn't come to the top, right? The idea is that we have to self-edit and say, okay, these top 3 things we want to accomplish by 2035.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Go ahead, Rajeshri. You had something else.
So with all the planning that has been happening, and we know that there are certain phases that have been determined by the consultant. So we are in phase 2, and this ends in July of this year. And then from July until December would be the 3rd phase. So by July, a certain number of things have to be accomplished, and we are all working towards that. And so once the engagement period ends, there'll be other community visioning goals that will be developed, and the public will be absolutely informed, and they're allowed to participate in those, because those goals are important, because how do we measure our plans if we didn't have those goals? So they're very crucial to the planning process, and there'll be every opportunity for the town people to be involved.
And it's encouraged that they give their feedback and attend meetings and ask questions.
Yes.
So what is the timeline for this to be completed? When is the hope to get this plan out to the public and actually start implementing?
I think the plan is for an 18-month. The process is for 18 months, and we began in September of last year. So, calculating that.
Summer 2025.
Something like that. So once the plan is established and presented to the boards, it's ready for implementation, and I think the consultant will guide us with that too. Okay. And it's ready to be implemented and it becomes a reality for so many of us who want to see this becoming live.
So the both of you have been sitting on this committee since it's almost a year now, right? May was when we had the first meeting.
Yes.
Is there anything that has surprised you as you're either sitting in the meetings or talking to people about how people feel about Ashland? Anything that has come up that you go, oh, I didn't realize that, or I look at it a different way?
Yes, and the positive. You know, let's face it, these large meetings can be tedious, right? Meetings can be tedium. We're a 29-member committee, so that in itself. But I have to tell you, the passion for people to show up to these meetings after work on a Thursday, have families and lives, new babies, and they're there and they're there. We're all there for the same reason. And to me, that is so heartening to hear. So I think I knew that at some level, but to actually see it in small conversation, you're just like, wow, you really want the best for Ashland. And it's not even Ashland now, it's Ashland in 10 years and 15 and 20 years. So the passion for this town, also the history, holy moly. There's so much, it's a rich history that, you know, that we need to show and show more of so that people, when they come here, they understand what Ashland is and where it came from. So that's exciting that we're going to be able to up-level that as well.
Good, good. Registry?
So I'm amazed at the talent that each of these members bring to the committee. Amazing qualifications, you know, and it's amazing that they're part of this and they've agreed to be part of this team. So I really bow to them for that. One of the things that came across to me during my engagement, I just came off of an MIAB, so which is a focus group discussion, that there are pockets of populations in Ashland who don't know what the town is all about. And even though they've lived for 15 years in town, they don't know what the resources are available, what they can access. And oftentimes I've connected them with people and that they've appreciated. But I wonder if there are more people like this who need to be connected, who need something, and they just don't know how to do it. So it's one effort at a time, and the comprehensive plan has given me that opportunity to connect with them.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, we've been talking about the comprehensive plan for some of us even longer than just the committee.
Right.
And there are still people who are not aware that the process is going on.
Right.
And we've seen that with other things, right? We'll have had a 6 or 8 month conversation at various times on the select board or with planning board or with some other committee. And there are people who aren't aware. So and I know as a community, reaching as many people in the community as possible is always difficult. And I know we're really trying to do that with this comprehensive plan to get as many voices as possible included and part of the conversation.
Yes.
You know, one of the conversations that I had, there are some people who are very active on social media and are able to be present in what's going on. There are others who have kids in school, and so the information is sifted through the schools to them. There are others still who are looking at neighboring towns and they're saying, okay, those towns are like dumps in comparison to Ashland, but we'd rather have a banner welcoming us into Ashland, like a physical banner, which represents the community values, or announcing events. If there's a performance, just announce it. So when we're driving in, we can see this happening.
That sense of pride,
Interesting. Yeah, there are certain communities that have those banner programs. Right? And the one thing I see as potentially not difficult, but there's so many entrances into Ashland. Right?
Even it's a pass through.
Even into our downtown, there are people who go through Ashland but never hit downtown, right? Because either they go by on 135 or 126. So, but that's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
You know, one of the beauties of having so much open space is that, yes, you get to be really private and isolated if that's what you choose to do. One of the drawbacks is what Rajeshri is talking about is that you can be very private and secluded and isolated and not participate in larger conversations.
So that's the duality of Ashland, because it can be so cohesive and so warm and welcoming,
Yeah.
and then the other part is so insular. I've heard that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I also see in Ashland, we have that, as you were talking about, the people who have been here for forever, right? There's thirds, some of them second, third, some of them fourth, fifth
Yeah.
generation. But then someone like yourself who came to Ashland because you saw a community that was very welcoming and
Right.
a lot of volunteer and a lot of things going on. And recognizing both of those and how do we bring them together?
Bring them together. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's okay to coexist, of course. We're not going to try to
Yes.
force people to be part of
no,
a larger
right.
thing if they don't want to, but we can be together in other ways. Yeah.
Good. Good. Any final thoughts on the comprehensive plan?
Get involved. There are a lot of opinions, and I've been hearing them since we moved here in 2018. But it's okay to tell them to us, but get involved so that they actually get up leveled, so that when the time comes, you can say, well, I contributed to that, or I shared my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that there's a sense of pride and honor and privilege to be part of a process like this. And many people, in fact, the group that I was mentioning, referring to, who did not know anything about the town, what the town offers, there's a certain sense of pride. And, they're saying, maybe we can do this in our community. So I encourage everybody to try it once.
Yeah.
You will be hooked.
Yeah.
That's what will happen.
Yeah. Well, and even though we have a lot of volunteers, we also have many volunteers who are doing multiple things.
Yeah.
And there's always opportunity for new volunteers
Yes.
to come in and participate.
Yes.
And either be appointed to a board or run to be an elected official for
Yes.
some other board. And,
Yes.
because there's a lot of things going on in this town.
Yeah.
And we all know that many hands make light work, and we could
Yes.
certainly use more hands for many things.
Yes.
Good. Before I let you go, Rajashri has answered this question because she has been on Around the Clock.
I'm a
before.
veteran here.
She's a veteran. But for you, Stacy, there's a question I ask all first-time attendees or first-time visitors to Around the Clock, and that is there something about you, Stacy Grant Lewis, that not many people may know, but that you'd be willing to share with our viewers?
Well, I think most people know that I moved here from New York 9 years ago, meaning to Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I've had many lives. I'm like a cat. So I started off in fashion and creative arts. I went to an art school, and which is why I landed at the Cultural Council.
Okay.
So that was my life before.
What was your art? What?
I was a visual artist and a fashion designer. I went to Parsons.
Wow.
Yes. And then I got my master's from NYU in dietetics, was a nutritionist for 12 years.
Oh my goodness.
And now here I am working in technology and real estate. So I've had many lives. And I think it's one of the benefits of being an immigrant who's moved from another country to multiple states and now is in Ashland and being welcomed so much. So
And what country are you from originally?
I'm Jamaican by birth.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And what brought your family? Because I take it you came with your family.
Yes. We came when I was 10, and economic opportunity. Jamaica is a wonderfully beautiful place, but the economics are challenging. So we came and have been here ever since.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice. Well, Stacy, Rajashri, thank you so much both for coming to Around the Clock and talking about the comprehensive plan. And for viewers, make sure you attend the meetings either in person or via Zoom and get involved. And we here at Around the Clock, as things move forward, will continue to talk about it and hope that you all will get involved.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
both
us.
so much for being here.
Thanks.
And that wraps up this segment of Around the Clock. That's great.